Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Terminator RPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game, where humanity fights for survival against the autonomous network Skynet, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about player characters and non-player characters, specifically their backgrounds, how you can flesh them out. But before that, I would like to talk about this channel's sponsor, Heroes and Hardships. This is a universal RPG system, allowing you to play any sort of adventure, campaign, genre, story. You can also create any sort of character imaginable. You have hundreds of tools to assist you with that. I'm going to put a few links in the description that will take you to the Kickstarter that should begin in about a month or so. You will also find links to the website, to the Tetsubo section of the website. Tetsubo is an upcoming setting for Heroes and Hardships, inspired by Japan's Sengoku era. You will also find links to the Discord and to my reviews of the Quickstart guide and the Wallace campaign setting, based on the life and exploits of William Wallace, so please check it out. Now, let's continue. We are going to talk about the character creation process in another part of this review. This time we are going to focus on how the player characters and non-player characters fit within the setting. When it comes to the player characters, there are three major types that can be played in this Terminator RPG. Resistance fighters, future fighters out of time, and era natives. Resistance fighters are basically people struggling against the machine onslaught of Skynet in an alternative and post-apocalyptic version of today. The ones far future of the 2020s and 2030s. Concerning the future fighters out of time, these are people who were time displaced to stop Skynet from attacking the past. Then we have the era natives. You can also play as these sort of characters that belong to any historical time period. They are usually targeted by Terminators and they are trying to stay alive as a future hell is unleashed around them. Let's go a bit more in depth. When it comes to resistance fighters, they could be featured in stories focused on the 2020s or the 2030s. The 2020s is basically the war against the machines. At this time, there is generally speaking no active time displacement equipment at play. Skynet 1.0 is still developing it. A 20s campaign would concentrate on the developing war against the machines in America, that is the continent, following the agents of John Connor as they build survivor colonies and attempt to unite and protect humanity against both its own greed and the forces of Skynet. Over the course of the campaign, it will become apparent that Skynet is butting heads with another AI. Then we have the 2030s. This is the Future War 2.0. So starting here, Skynet 1.0's contingency time displacement equipment complexes built by independent Terminators begin to come online across the world. Over the next 2 years, the artificial consciousness of Skynet 2.0 reforms and these TDE bases are used to send Terminators back in time over the past 50 years or more to stack the deck in Skynet's favor. In this era, Skynet 2.0 is relentless about affecting change in the past, all but carpet bombing the timeline with temporal incursions. Then we have the future fighters out of time. These are time travelers with knowledge of the Terminators and what will happen in the future. They are fish out of the water. They likely have no local knowledge and very limited connections and resources in a particular time. Then we have the era natives. These are regular people living linear lives in the period they were born into. While this can be anyone in any era, there are some suggested roles concerning these sorts of characters. For example, maybe the characters are officers of the law. Police officers likely have local knowledge, firearm skills, and access to further resources. Then we have the undesirables. This could be petty thieves, to crime lords, criminals that have local connections and weapons skills. We also have the scientific community. From college professors to nuclear physicists, scientists use their brains and skills to influence the growth of the civilized world. Then we have government agencies. A badge-carrying agent from any 3 or 4-letter agency will have weapon skills and intimidation training. We also have public servants, military and private contractors, civilians. They can all play a role in your campaign. Let's talk about the termination protocol. Sometimes those who are swept up in the future war are just ordinary people dealing with extraordinary circumstances. It's not what they do today that matters, but what they will do tomorrow. There is a targeted for termination table, which lists a number of reasons as to why a machine intelligence will send a cyborg killer back in time to terminate specific people. Perhaps the target is a generational hazard. The target will eventually conceive a child that will lead to an unfavorable future for Skynet. Or maybe it's an asset protection. The target's actions or existence threatens a human collaborator and or material assets that are useful, necessary, or valued by Skynet. Next, we have information on creating non-player characters. A non-player character is any character in the game, not run by the players of course, but you need to think about their roles within the setting. Is that non-player character going to play a vital part in the story? Will that NPC be fighting against or with the players, and if so, are they really capable of putting up a fight? Will the non-player character be joining the players for any length of time? So depending on your answer, yes or no, you can feature them more prominently on the scenario, or have them just like background or some secondary element in the story. Based on that, you can also decide if you need stats or a profile for that NPC. If that NPC is going to be important for the scenario, then stats will be needed, as perhaps that non-player character could participate in important fights. But if it's someone that can fade into the background, and if an important character is trying to kill or attempts to kill that non-player character that is secondary or tertiary, you could rule it out as an automatic success. You immediately kill that non-player character. Or perhaps that non-player character has some useful skills, but because it is not a prominent figure in the scenario, many actions are going to be either automatic successes or failures. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about playing in the 80s, that is, setting specific information, and also arriving in a new era. So the guidelines to create player characters and non-player characters are pretty clear. We have yet to talk about the character creation process itself, but it's very cool that you can play as a time traveler or a native to a particular era, as a resistance fighter. You could have a mixed group of player characters. Maybe a player character goes back in time and meets up with a resistance fighter from that particular period, and you also have a native assisting in that fight, perhaps a normal civilian that is just trying to make a difference. I think that it's also great and quite cinematic that non-player characters can be handled depending on their degree of importance. They could fit into a more prominent role within the story, or just serve as a sort of device to get the plot going. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, you can send an Amazon gift card or a drive-thru RPG gift certificate. The information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.